Well, hi there, folks. This is your host, ID Jester. Thanks for checking out my video. Once again, we are going to be talking about Sword Coast Legends and the state of the game. It is now November 6th, and hopefully you watched my last episode. We talked about the state of the game and the upcoming things they are trying to incorporate into the game and the addition of all the Halloween updates and such. A few days ago, actually yesterday I believe it was, now that I think about it, they actually did a live stream on their YouTube channel and they talked about Community Pack 1 and gave us some more in-depth information about it. So I'm going to be sharing that with you today, and we're going to talk about a few other things as well. So they talked about the companion-specific tree unlocks for players, and basically the way this is going to work is you are going to, if you run through the story mode, when you get to the companions and you do their companion quest, when you finish the companion quest, you will then have access to their skill trees for any of your characters. So this will be account bound. So once you've done it once, you do not need to do it again. All you have to do is run through the single player campaign and do the specific companion quest for each of the companions. When you do that, you unlock their specific tree. They showed some of the nature set, and we're going to get to show you that a little bit here in just a minute. And they have said there is, I believe, 171 new nature placeable objects, and there's also a new area. So if we go to the Sword Coast Legends and you want to actually see the video on everything they've done, just go to twitch.tv/swordcoastlegends and look for the video that was done on November 5th. So here is just, they only had screenshots. Here's basically a screenshot of the open area, and then they're going to show us here in a minute a few modifications that they did. I believe there is a randomization to it, so you can randomize it a few times, and basically when you randomize it, there may be a path that goes through it. We're going to see another video here shortly on that. But I'll keep talking as you guys watch this in the background. Again, you can go to the Twitch TV, Sword Coast Legends, and look for the video they did on November 5th. Oh wow, lots of really good information going on. Now, you know, oh man, when Sword Coast Legends was released, a full release on October 20th, I was pissed. There was so many people that were upset with the outcome. Here's that tile set that they actually used. Here they're kind of alternating but back and forth between them. And shows you all the different placeable objects that you can place down. Oh, of course, they're all nature related. There's going to be rocks and bushes and shrubs and plants and all kinds of different nature-y objects. Here's another one that I believe they randomized with and got a trail that goes through the map. So obviously that is a good thing where they're going to be able to use a road or a trail or something. And again, I think you're just going to randomize it, and then some maps will come with a trail or a road and some maps won't. But you're going to see that the outcome of this book is totally different than the last one. Here it is. Boom, look at that. That is just different kinds of rocks. Makes it look more like a deserty type scene there with the different rocks. So you can see there's logs and some trees and some bushes and all kinds of different things that are going to make nature scenes very, very good. Again, he just removed the objects here, and soon he will place those objects back in so we can see them once again here. Very exciting. Can't wait for the update. It should be here the week of November 9th. The exact release date, they don't know yet. They're still working on some of the things. And as soon as they get done with this next one here, they got one more here is another outdoor area. I believe it's the same outdoor area, and all they're doing is randomizing it and getting a different path with it. And you can see that this one looks totally different than the last one. There are some structures, buildings crumbling, ruin type areas, or replaceables that you can put down. I believe they said there was 171. Now that is pretty exciting news because, to tell you folks, the game only released with 194 unique objects. Now, it did come with 256 total objects, but a lot of these were used in multiple categories, so it was, there seemed to be more than there actually was. So we're basically almost doubling our placeable objects. Now, a lot of these are ruins and outdoor things that you're only going to be able to use for nature scenes, but still, it is a great first step. The game has only been released, it is now November 6th. The game came out on December 20th, so basically about 3 weeks the game's been released. Here we're flipping through a few times more here to show you. And again, if you want to see this video and listen to everything they have to say, feel free to do that. But I'm going to kind of cover what they had talked about. Ability respect. So now, if you're in the story mode, you can now go to a object in the what do they call that place? The Adventures Camp. If you go to the Adventures Camp, there's now a new placeable object called something like Respect Dummy or something like that. It'll bring up a little menu, and you can spend gold to respect your characters. There's also in the Adventure Camp a player stash now where you can, and this is account bound to you, so you can now place objects in there and then use those objects for all of your characters. So if you pick up a nice bow and you want to give it to your ranger character, you can put it in your stats, and then later on load up your ranger character and be able to get that item out of the stash. So that's kind of exciting news. They did show some skill rolls, and again, I wish it wasn't listed as skill rolls because it's not really skills. We're talking about basically abilities here, and there was a lot of different options that they showed during this where you can actually type in, roll strength, and it'll automatically roll 1d20 and add your strength modifier. You could do like 2d20 -5 +2 plus proficiency plus strength, and they were able to roll that. So even though it just says here that they're going to be making it so you can roll strength and all your ability scores, it's actually quite a bit more than that, which is pretty exciting. They're even adding in advantage and disadvantage. So if the DM tells you that, okay, you have advantage in this situation, give me a dexterity check, you can type in advantage roll space dex, and it'll roll 2d20, take the higher of the two rolls, and show you the results. So, and of course add in your modifiers as well. So the skill roll abilities are going to be very helpful for the DMs, live DMing. Obviously, if you're not going to be running with the live DM, it's not going to be that important to you, but the fact that that's getting added, very nice. They also talked about the number of monster abilities. You can see they don't actually list anything here. I believe, and I'm going off of memory here, I think they said there was like 108 new monster abilities. And they've broken them up into new categories now, so you have like Drow abilities, Dugar abilities, Beast abilities, Goblin abilities, Giant abilities, etc., etc. And so they've kind of showed us all of the new, they didn't show us all of them, but I mean they kind of went through the different lists to show you how many new ones there was. And there is 110 new abilities for your NPCs, not just monsters, but any NPC that you want to give it to. So that is exciting news, and of course additional big bug fixes and community feedback items as allowed on time. So just within a couple weeks after release here, this game is really coming into its own. It's really starting to get to the point where it needed to be. And the interesting thing is, if you watch this video, they talked about a few of these options, that the fact that they wanted to get them in the game, but they just ran out of time. And I think that's what a lot of players, including myself, were kind of upset about, was the fact that they said, that they're getting ready for release, and they had to hold things back from us because it was going to ruin the story. And for whatever reason, they released the game without any additional things in the game, and it just threw everyone, including myself, into a tizzy. And a lot of people quit the game, a lot of people got mad, and everything else. Instead of just saying, look, we wanted to add these objects in, and we wanted to add these abilities in, but we're just not ready at that point, but we're going to do that quickly. And it took them like 10 days to release the state of the game after the release, so a lot of people were in a void. So all that bent up frustrations just kept mounting day after day after day. So hopefully with this getting added in the week of November 9th, this is going to be quite a big addition. Lots of new placeable objects, a new outdoor area, the ability to respec your characters, get new skills from all of the companions. And I believe there's only a couple new skill trees, but there is one that a lot of players are interested in, and that is the necromancy tree. They're going to add that to the wizards, I believe, is what they're going to be doing on that. They're going to kind of not redesign, but kind of spread out the companion skills into different classes that make really good sense. Okay, now if that was the end of it, we would be done, but there really isn't the end of it, because I've got to talk about something else that's going on. And this is, let me tell you, this is probably as exciting as all this news, and I've almost got goosebumps thinking about this. On the Sword Coast forums here, there is two really important posts, and you can see they are made by Mad Hatter here, and he has really done a great service for the community here. And he's taking it kind of upon himself, because I guess he's got some skills and talents in maybe programming, or knows some people, and been digging into the files and such. And from what I understand, and I'm not involved in this project whatsoever, other than just reading about it and posting good luck and, we're with you and all that. So I have really nothing to do with this project. So I'm not in the know, but from what I understand, Mad Hatter and his team have been working on some things, and I want to basically cover them right now. The first thing here is you can see this screenshot is basically from the original story campaign mode, and this is what was actually seen in the story campaign mode, and he's been able, and his team has been able to get in and alter and edit some of the text within there. Not only that, but I know his main goals, and we're going to get to that here in a minute when we talk about part 2 of this, is they have successfully removed level scaling, and he's been running some demonstrations on this. So what does that mean? Well, that kind of flows into the next part, but the first part I want to do is kind of introduce that this is the Mad Hatter's workshop, the first successful modifications to Sword Coast Legends. And I should say before we go on that he's been in contact with Sword Coast Legends and has been talking to their developers, talking with the people that help make the game. And to their credit, and I hate to say this because I'm almost eating crow on this, N-Space has been very accommodating, giving him information, giving his team information, allowing them to do this and make changes into the game system. And even though there is a clause in there that you are not allowed to make changes to the game files, but because he's not doing it for dangerous reasons or whatever, Sword Coast is really kind of taking him under their wing, kind of sort of say, and allowing him and his team, and it's not just him, but he's kind of the driving force behind this, and it is quite a big team from what I understand. 5 or 6 individuals that have been working with the developers of Sword Coast to make these modifications. So if you haven't been following along with the development of Sword Coast, you might not, kind of understand the whole thing. And I'm not going to get into a long, drawn-out conversation about the history and what had happened, but basically, I'll sum it up in this. The game had a lot of promise through the summer. Coming up to launch, people were very disappointed with it And then at launch, it was the crushing defeat because a lot of people were expecting certain things in the game that were not there. Now, Nspace has since come out and said, we're going to add these things to the game, and we'd like to add a whole list of things. If you're not sure, watch my previous video on the Sword Coast Legends State of the Game video. I get more in depth into that. Anyways, and basically a lot of these functions that aren't in the game, are hopefully going to be coming to us through the end of the year and maybe beyond, of course. But Mad Hatter and his team, like I was mentioning, has taken upon themselves to see, what exactly is editable, how much modding there is going to be able to do, and you can see that just about everything in the game that's going to be allowed to be moddable is moddable, including text and interactions with NPCs and everything like that. But more importantly, not even the moddable part of this, and the fact that Nspace is helping work with this, Mad Hatter and his team, again, this is a new announcement here, is making a 5th edition conversion to the module files in the game. And what that means, you can kind of read this and put it on pause or whatever you want. But I guess the most important thing for me to tell you guys is kind of this section here, that they want to remove level scaling per the 5th edition monster manual and create a guide for DMs regarding the use of current assets, which is, of course, a high priority item for them. So a lot of people know that this Sword Coast Legends is based upon the 5th edition system, Dungeons and Dragons. And a lot of people, and I'm telling you, I've been on the forums for months now, and I'm telling you there has been a lot of posts about how, people do not feel this game is 5th edition, it doesn't act like 5th edition, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to get into a whole discussion about if it is or isn't or anything like that. I'm just telling you how people believed. Now, Nspace, to their credit, if you look back at Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2, which was more of a creation from the Dungeons and Dragons system, there has been, when you go back and play that game, a lot of people state, this has been, Neverwinter Nights was so much better and blah, blah, blah. But then, people mention the fact that if it was based on the Dungeons and Dragons system, which it was, there is a 6-second round, and that basically means your character animation happens for, a second or maybe 2 seconds, and then your character stands there for 4 seconds twiddling his thumb before you get to act in the next round. And that can really make combat seem very, very long, very boring, because you're not actually interacting with it. Now, Sword Coast Legends kind of understood this and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, we're not going to have people act once every 6 seconds because you're basically your character sitting there for a long time not doing anything. We're going to do rounds as every 2 seconds. So what this 5th edition module or conversion, total conversion, is going to try to do is simulate more back to the original aspects of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons based upon the Sword Coast Legends coding, which means that monsters such as goblins or whatever are going to have their 5th edition monster manual stat block. So instead of having 48 hit points or 68 hit points or whatever they have, they're basically going to have 12 hit points per hit dice or 8 hit points or whatever the monster is based upon, whatever hit dice it is. And then they're going to multiply that by 3 to give them an actual 5th edition rating because, as I mentioned, Sword Coast Legends uses a 2-second counter. So if a goblin with only 12 hit points only has 12 hit points and you're doing 3 attacks in 6 seconds, then they're not really to the standard of what a Dungeons and Dragons thing is. So basically they're taking the monsters that are in Sword Coast Legends. They're converting them over to the 5th edition rules and then basically editing that based upon the system. But you can also see down here, on number 5 here, we're going to check to see if the system action timer can be adjusted. So again, possibly make it more like 5th edition, where instead of every 2 seconds you act every 6 seconds. Some of the other things they're doing is obviously scaling the amount of damage PCs do with their abilities, or all the abilities, based upon the fact that monsters are now going to have the correct number of hit points instead of the points that they were assigned based upon the original release. They're also going to edit the loot and actual loot tables so they can approximate 5th edition itemization a little bit better, and then alleviate the sudden appearance of assets and see if they can manipulate the data already in the game to access creatures who have fully statted out but don't have finished 3D animations, such as orcs, Deros, Banshees, etc. This might be a simple change, or it might be incredibly hard. And I'm going to scroll down so you can read the rest. Hopefully you read the top of this. So this is pretty exciting news, because I know that there's been a lot of people out there that have totally written off Sword Coast Legends because, quote unquote, it's not like 5th edition. And I believe what Mad Hatter, and again his team, I think he lists his team here somewhere, I believe. Yes, right here I think is the team of experts that are working on this with Mad Hatter. And basically they're going to create a full conversion over based upon the 5th edition rules, where monsters are now going to have the 5th edition rules. The damage that your characters are going to do is going to be based upon 5th edition rules, etc., etc. Because, like I said, there was a lot of people that were very upset that this game doesn't act more like 5th edition. Personally, I enjoy 5th edition. I enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. It's my ultimate favorite, one of my favorite things in the whole world, I guess. But for me, Sword Coast Legends doesn't have to be based upon 5th edition. It's just fine the way it was. And I don't have much problems with the way the game is or the way it was designed, other than for DMs, it's very limited in what you can do and what you can create at this point. But with all the additions we talked about last episode, with all of the community packs that NSpace is doing, and now with this Mad Hatter, I think they even named this as the Sword Coast Legends Next, because of the D&D Next, which is basically what evolved into 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. They're going to be really fine-tuning it. So if you are a 5th edition player, or you felt that Sword Coast Legends really didn't live up to the billing because things just seemed out of whack, I will definitely recommend you take a look at these announcements and wait for Mad Hatter and his team to make this conversion to more of a 5th edition system, because with the help of those gentlemen and the blessing from NSpace, they're going to be changing a lot of the aspects in the game to make it seem more like a 5th edition role-playing game, and unlike, less of a Diablo hack and slash, I guess, is the problem a lot of people see with this. Of course, these problems can get alleviated and changed if you have a live DM, because of some of the things we've already talked about. The dice rolling options, the ability to have more skills now, the ability to respect your character, the skill roll option, more abilities for your NPCs and monsters. This game, as I mentioned way back in the beginning, is really going to be an evolution if they have the time and money to put into it. And it looks like, at least here in the beginning after release, things are starting to smooth out. The rough waters that have been the month of October, basically, where the forums were blowing up everybody was at everybody's throat, and it was just a mass of negativity and a mass of just people that were not excited and wanting their money back and everything else. Now, I didn't want my money back, but I was extremely disappointed, extremely, let's see, what's the word I want to put, disappointed in what the outcome of Sword Coast Legends has. And I was hoping and praying, like many people out there, that things would get added and changed to the game that would make it more a game that we can use to create massive, wonderful worlds and modules that players are going to be using for many years to come. And that was kind of the goal that they said that they wanted. It didn't seem like they lived up to that. And now we're in the process of letting them finish to see if maybe they can get this game up to where it needs to be. And of course, with the help of a community member also putting modules and changes into the game that will make it more like a 5th edition game. I truly believe that this game, give it another 4 or 5 months, is going to be completely different than it was at release. It already is becoming, based upon the release next week and the Community Pack 2 and Community Pack 3, it's already going to be another game, completely different game. But with the addition of community members like Mad Hatter and his team, the fact that they are working on things to kind of balance out some of the things that people didn't like about the game, the fact that Endspace is saying, you know what, maybe it's not like 5th edition, and if you're willing to do the work to make it more like 5th edition, then we will bless you, we will give you our guidance, we'll give you whatever help we can, because maybe that might make some people more happy with the game than it was at release. And I have to again say, hats off to Endspace for doing that, because a lot of companies, especially after a bad launch and they got pummeled in the press for releasing the game when they did, at least they're willing to see past their own nose and willing to work with community members that are willing to do this for the betterment of the game. Because obviously if they can release this 5th edition update and Endspace has its blessing, then maybe they incorporate it into a patch build eventually, where there might be an option in the game that says something like, if you want your game to be more like 5th edition, use this, use this module, and you just check it, and then it'll, be able to be more like a 5th edition game for you. Now, if you're like me and you don't really necessarily see anything bad with the way the system is, I mean, I'm not a totally great, huge supporter of the way it is right now, but I don't feel, I'm kind of neutral. I don't feel against it, but I'm not a pro. I'm not a negative. And again, I don't do a lot of playing. I'm mostly a DM. So I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum. I'm looking for ways to mod the game, things to be added to the game that's going to help the dungeon master. A lot of these things are probably going to help with the dungeon mastering and being able to really flesh out the game as a whole. And we'll see how this progresses, but I thought I would give you guys an update on the Mad Hatter Sword Coast Legend Next project, and also kind of give you an update on what they had said in Community Pack 1, which will be released next week sometime. Of course, you are going to see it here, folks, first, because as soon as it's released, I will download it, we'll get in and check everything out ourselves, and get to spend some time with it and see how these new functions and everything, all these new placeable objects, the new locations, we'll get to check them out and see what they look like. So, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time, and look for more Sword Coast Legends information to come shortly.